Hi everybody and welcome. We are doing today's SpeedTree live stream on, we're having a bit of fun, I guess. We are going to be in SpeedTree 9. I'm in the cinema version, but this is going to be the same for the games version as well. And we are basically going to spend the entire time playing around with the new mesh conversion tool. The file I've got open today is a bunch of assets from Quixel's Megascans, and I have plopped them in here all along on mesh generators. And there's a bunch of them, and if I had been a good person, I probably would have labeled these, but instead I've just got them in here as meshes. So hello everybody joining in, and I hope you guys enjoy this rather humorous post here. The point of this is actually to show you guys identifying when you're scanning these in the wild, what you want to scan for, and what you're looking for in a mesh, what SpeedTree can actually do, and how this tool is actually grabbing what it does. So we're going to start with something very simple, and we're going to show you a tree example first. I'm just going to take a look at this little forked guy here. And we're going to hide the rest of these guys just so that we can do this. We are going to do one from scratch in just a second, so I'm going to bring in the material and everything for you, so we'll do that. I'm just going to get ahead of the game here. All right, this is a pretty wavy mesh that we have going on here. It's very high poly. If you look at it on the mesh tab, it's about 14K. So on a games tree, we would really want to optimize this. And so when we have something that's forked like this, and we have our mesh converter tool, what you would want to do is analyze what you can take from this. So on this mesh, from here to here, I could take a texture from here. I could take a texture from here to the base, and then I can do the same from the other side, probably. It's a little curvy, but the converter will handle that just fine. And we're going to do some of that today. So, to get started, we are going to add our photogrammetry, and this is sitting here in the mesh. We're going to add the mesh converter to the scene. You'll see this top icon and a bottom icon, and you might have a weird little trailing ant thing there. The red dotted line is going to trace the outline of the tree on the mesh, and this is the top and the bottom are basically going to sit where we're going to be cutting out. So on a mesh like this, if I was doing this for a games tree, what I might end up doing is chopping off a tree and splitting it on my own, but it got a nice detail in here that you wouldn't be able to get quite as well in SpeedTree, and it's already put together for us. So what we're going to do is we're just going to convert the tops to trunks. We're going to go ahead and select the T. I'm just left clicking this with my mouse. It's going to bring up the screen space gizmo, and we're going to hold down the space bar and hit T over the mesh. You want to make sure that, sorry, hold down T, not the space bar. I'm losing my mind already. This is going to get it relatively in place wherever you put that. You can do it multiple times if you need to. It's going to try to follow best it can. Now what's happening is this little guy is actually shooting out rays in every direction to try to find this mesh. And so if you stick it over here, it's going to give you a little warning thing that it's not on it. You can click the T, and if you can't get it into place, you can actually always hit the T here and hit over here in your properties. You have a center button, and that will try its best, same as with the stitch tool, to get it into position. Now we're going to go to the bottom and do the exact same thing. Now you'll see right now it's a little confused. It's trying to go all the way up, and it's getting confused by this little V here. The things that are going to convert well are going to be tube shapes. The more confusion here or splitting, it's not going to be able to U-wrap that once, and so it doesn't know what to do quite with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to place that a little higher, holding the T once again and placing down at the bottom, and now the gizmo has found a path. Hopefully that makes sense. Guys, feel free to, this is all new stuff, so if you guys want to ask questions, just type them in the chat as we go. Alright, right off the bat, you can see that we've got some bumps and things sticking outside of our pink area. If you click on the pink area, you're going to bring up not only the texture preview, but also the properties. I'm in node mode right now because I just moved the top and bottom gizmo. And so if you hit tab really fast, you can go over to generator mode, and that's where our properties are going to be for the band itself. So if you ever can't see your properties, that's why. Just check what mode you're in. Right off the bat, we want to include everything that's sticking out on this branch. So we're going to give ourselves some clearance and go all the way out. And down here, you'll see that I've actually moved it out so far that I'm hitting this branch again, which we don't want. And so I'm going to do a little bit of maneuvering to get that in place. I'm actually going to move this up just a little bit. I'm going to hit center on it again. And that way we are a little bit farther from the edge here, and I think that I can change the distance here to get these polygons out. So you'll see some texture stretching in here, and what's happening is this is a very bendy piece, and it's trying to take that texture and compress it down smoothly, and it's so bendy that we actually are going to need a couple more points. These points, you can see, if you can't see them, you're going to have, I thought it was only with hints. These points are controlled by the accurate spine. So you can add more of them down here, this region area here, and that will hopefully follow a little bit closer to the waviness of the branch. And there we go. Make sure I was still working. My microphone has me in like a perpetual fear that it's gonna cut out like it did this time. But alright, so we've added a couple more. We've got this nasty looking fold where it's trying to go around the bend and it's curving in on itself. So this right here is something we want to work back out. There's a relax tool underneath the extra points, and that is there specifically for this. When you've added those points in, it's going to relax what I just did just enough to get that out. And now that the overlap is fine and out, it's probably okay now. You want to look in here for pinched places. Obviously right in here would be kind of an error, and I think that it's actually in the texture itself, so I'm not sure that we're going to get complete perfection out of that one, but that's okay. Alright, for our settings here, we are going to adjust our texture itself and the blend. This area in orange down here represents this piece at the top that we're using to blend this together and make a tileable bark. So right now it's a little short and it's not blended super well. You can always view this blend differently. Like if you need to switch down here to the preview, you can put it on the blend only to see what's going on. This is super helpful if you've stretched it out too far. Or right here at the stretch, you can see that if I stretch it out too far, I lose the blur that's going on there. Right. So what I want to do, I'm going to put this on default 2. I use that one a lot. I don't know why. It's just my particular favorite. All of the ones in the drop down here in this mask section are pretty much all you'll ever need to blend. Some of them are fuzzier than others, and some of them, like the palm, has a pattern in it with a little bit of stripes, stuff like that. So honestly, you don't need to think too hard about that section there. I find that they blend pretty easy with few options. So, all right, now let's put it back on the full view. You can make this a little bigger so that if you're watching, you can see it all the way to the top there. If you need to stretch this out, like say you want to decompress this texture a little bit, you can adjust the V scale and make it longer or shorter. I don't really want to do that. I think that's a good little stretch of texture there. I am going to see if I can get a little bit more out the bottom. I'm going to make the blend range a little bit longer. And when I do that, I am picking up pieces from the other side. So I can do two things. I can make the clearance a little smaller to try to fit it in. And as long as I don't, see if you see that black piece coming in here, as long as I can get the very end of this piece right here seems to be the problem. Without this picking up. So we're going to make it smaller so that we don't pick up on that triangle. There we go. So I'm going to do a little 360 around the mesh just to make sure that we are indeed in good standing. When you have something that's lower poly, you might have a big jump up, and so it might have trouble grabbing these. This is a little bit higher of a poly, so it seems to be okay. And now we are ready to send this out. I'm going to do a little bit of moving around just for that one spot there. Can make it try a little bit more and see if it's smoothing helps that area in particular. You can see it kind of jumping back there. Extra weights might help me, or they may not. I've got a little bit of an area where there's some black still showing right there. I think it actually might be, I think we've got it all in there. I think it's more from the shadows. And now we're going to click on it. We're going to go all the way to the bottom, and here's our action. So for this one, we're going to just take this material, we're going to load it back into SpeedTree, and we're going to convert the thing into a trunk. We're going to convert it in place so that it adds a stitch onto the end, the very last one. And what I want to do here is I'm actually going to, we're going to make these 4K. We could make them big, but there's no need for that. I'm going to select this to save real fast. And we are going to save this into our folder for, can I forget that? I'm working within my folder, and I have actually, I'm keeping my meshes all in one, and we're going to call this the converted bark folder. And then we're going to save this out. This is going to be our tree when bark. And we're going to let it do its magic. It's going to roll the little circular wheel for a second here because it's generating our textures. And it's going to bring us in our texture that we just made, which is going to be this one here. This is our new Tyloba bark. You'll see this little piece here has gotten cut out. So what you need to do is it's added a stitch in here for us. We don't need this mesh converter, so it goes ahead and hides it for us, but we want to grab the stitch and we want to adjust the area that the stitch is actually cutting out. We're going to do that by grabbing the settings, and then we're going to use clearance spread. And you see that little white line right there? We have clearance that goes outward. But since this is a tree like that, we're going to cut it off all the way. And so we're going to actually do this pretty wide with the clearance spread there all the way to the top, and it's cutting away our piece. Now, this is the piece it just made. It's the SpeedTree geometry now. You can see that go ahead and hit save real fast. You can see that we can control the segment amount now. We can make it optimized. Oh, probably not already, but we can add segments to it, or we can decrease them. So we can actually take this and decrease it. We can go ahead and go to the regular mode, and this is now editable. So we can make it longer or shorter, and we can bend it, and we can do all of the regular SpeedTree properties. So what we would do is probably bend that back up. It's got all this nice shape going on it, which is kind of cool because it spit out this height map for us. And welcome everybody. Oh, and someone from Spain. That's awesome. Hopefully, as we go on, we have more and more tutorials being translated to Spanish or to Chinese, actually. So if you can only understand bits, that's okay. But we're glad you're here. And there we go. So what I would do if I was going to build this out and make a SpeedTree tree out of this, I would do the exact same thing to the other side. If I don't want to waste texture space and have a different texture, I could actually just reuse the texture that I've got here and put my own stitch on this side. But the converter is so fast and easy that you might as well set it up and get it to go. So that's one way we can use this. And let's just take a look at some of the others. I'm going to hide this guy for now. So the fun part of this stream was we were kind of joking around, and the mesh converter is kind of unusual in that it will work on a lot of things. But how do you actually decide how you're going to build your tree out and what you're going to use? On this one, it's a little bit more complicated of a version of the last tree that we made here. The converter definitely won't work on this section if I were to put it down here and grab this section, but it will work if I put it up and do it just like I did the other tree with the V. Now, you could cut out all of these, so sometimes on these scans that are put together, I got a little bit of texture resolution loss, and so if you were going to make a high poly VFX tree, the best solution for this would be to actually chop and convert down here and get rid of these branches up here. The texels, especially up here, if you look top down on the tree, these areas when you're scanning are very, very hard to get. A lot of times when you're processing these things, you've got like a lot of fill-in information in there. And so if you actually want to make this a nicer looking tree, I would recommend chopping it off and building from there. Just wanted to show you that one as an example. We're going to go ahead and move to the next thing. I don't know which one this is, so we're going to go ahead and go. Okay. On Quixel's site, or any site where you're getting 3D meshes, SpeedTree Library will have some too. We've got all these wonderful things like sticks on the ground. Sticks on the ground can be used to make a tree trunk or a whole tree. Now, with this tool, if you were on the website itself, you can pick out anything basically that's tube shape. So when you're looking out and picking out your scan, if you were just to kind of sort through these guys and think through, something like this will convert very well. Something like this will be kind of interesting results. So we're looking for things that are tube shaped. When you're looking at nature scans and you're picking out trees and pieces, you can kind of be creative here and start to piece things together. Let's say you have a stick that you really like down here and you want to pair it with a base and just build off the top. But you want to make it super, super low poly. The ones that are tubes, if you convert them completely, they're going to be your best option for a game tree. But stuff like taking burned pieces and making that your main branch and building out a trunk that way is a great method. Let's go back to SpeedTree. And Welcome. So this is just a piece of driftwood or something that they've scanned, and it's got a base on it. So what we're going to do with this one is we're going to see if the converter can do this incredibly curved edge, and what that would look like if we made a tree out of it. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to add our mesh converter. And just one thing you want to make sure, I didn't grab it at a time in the gen bar, but if you add it to the scene, you want to make sure it's attached to the mesh. We're going to grab our top, we're going to grab our bottom. I'm holding T and I'm placing these. And it did a great job right off the bat of just following along the trunk there. It automatically centers. I could go up even farther if I wanted, probably a little too far there. And we're just enough farther from the bottom. Now, one of the things that it might struggle with right here is if you look top down, you'll notice that this isn't a circle shape anymore. This is now kind of like an oblong. It goes in on itself. So let's take a look at what that does to the texture. If you click it, you're going to see that bend where it's folding the texture in down there. It looks like it did a pretty good job, so that at least is impressive. Alright, we're gonna just do our clearance on this guy and get it all. Our blend up here is pretty miserable, so we're going to switch that up just a little bit and make it, I'm just gonna grab default and do a little bit of shifting. I'm gonna stretch that out just a little bit, and then let's see if okay, so it's struggling a little bit as I increase the blend range. You'll see that the triangles are going all the way to the bottom now, so I want to actually keep the blend range a little bit smaller, a little area there, and now I don't have any of that texture issue. The blend I got did not blend very well, so let's just take a look at some of the other ones. Modeled seems to have a little bit of a line there, and it was because it's pushed up before. I showed you, this is a problem solving thing. I'm gonna make this a little bigger so you can see at the top. Alright, you see how we're getting that harsh line up there? That is because the actual blend is getting pushed up too far. So, on this one, I had the scroll wheel. The scroll wheel got me on that one. We've stretched that up, and that's where our cutoff is. And the mask we want to make sure is within range. So we're going to put that stretch down for that blend. On this one, I don't think the modeled was necessarily great, but we could actually keep our blend range in there and then stretch it out. Sharp didn't do anything for us. Let's do modeled, or default works for us. Stretch it back out that way. I think we need something very linear. And simple might work for us. I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and go look at our background and our blend together. Some of them are too streaky. And once we've got something we like, if you do need to repeat it, you can repeat it to make it a smaller pattern, but we definitely don't want that for that. I'm content with that for now. We're going to go ahead and send it out like we did the other one. I'm doing a 4K. On this one, I'm going to convert the entire thing to a trunk, which means we're just going to make a SpeedTree trunk. We're going to let it whirl and do its thing, and we'll see what it spit out. We can do twiddle our thumbs while we wait on it. And there is our new trunk. So what you would do is you would hide your mesh entirely. Let's just take a minute to appreciate the fact that this guy is 10K, 9K in here, and now we have a SpeedTree branch that we can make as low as we need, basically. So right now it's only about 500 polys, so it's pretty great. Got a little fold in there. I think we got a little shadowing thing that happened. We can make this have a couple more segments. Right now I'm changing this described. Much lower poly here and easier to work with. Can do something like this. Our displacement here is going to be dependent. So you guys saw that light issue here where there's a little bit of a shadow going on. Our displacement is being controlled by the height map. It looks like something sharp got put out in that height map. So we can actually bring that down a little bit, and we're going to get rid of that shadow. Or, depending on if this was a VFX tree, we could add more polygons in this. So let's, for the sake of pretending, since we made it so low poly, we can now make this into a tree. We would hide this, and then our new tree here, we would go ahead and edit like normal. So we could do stuff like change the length. You got some cool detail that came through on that side. Just kind of fun stuff. And let's go ahead and move to our next thing, just to see what exactly we can use this on. For kicks and giggles, I put a hot dog bun in here. Let's go ahead and see. We're just gonna keep doing these. I'm gonna put a photogrammetry mesh converter. I'm going to grab the top, hold down the T, press the top, grab the B, hold down T, push the bottom, and now we have a hot dog bun converter. You'll notice that if I were to go all the way to the edge of the hot dog bun, the height map that I would get out of that would curve in up here. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting sort of like the middle area that's more stable out. Same thing with the bottom, and I've got just enough down here on the band. So what we would do is you grab that, and our hideous hot dog bun material is here. We've got a little bit of texture stretching down here, so we want to try to edit that out. I'm gonna let it curve and do its thing. So what we would really want to edit is the background here. We would do our blend area. I'm just going to put it on default. Actually, a simple one probably is going to be really good for this because there's not a whole lot going there. I think that if we can do a smaller blend area on this, we might want to move it up a little bit. I'm going to hit center on that just to make sure. And it looks like we got a pretty big blend area now. We can put that back down and do the same thing with just shifting and making sure that this is a good blend. I can barely see it now. We're gonna go ahead and send this one out. So for this one, you can convert it to in place in order to keep the bottom of the bun. And let's just do that for fun. I call it bun. And there we go. We have a hot dog converted. This is the end branch now, and we can make this as long as we possibly want. So we could keep this going and make a hoagie or a larger sandwich or anything that you want with it. If you wanted, now that you have this new creation, you can grab it and go into the freehand mode and bend this however you like. So we now have a don't know what to call that, a bun snake. For right now, I think that I go back to generator mode. Something odd that happened here was it kept okay, that's what's going on. So in gen mode, I just couldn't figure that out for a second. I think I made another one, and so I actually have two there. I generated two off of the extension there. And it happened so fast, I don't know if y'all saw it. I was trying to figure out why there were two hot dog buns. There, I definitely just generated an extra one there, so it needs to be on absolute 0 if it's an extension. And the one that I bent just now, of course, I deleted that one on accident, but same thing. We can go have fun with these guys. I'm using the bin tool, and it's absolutely funny right now. So go nuts with these. I really don't know what you would make with this. Maybe you're making a Chulu tree. But options, you've got options there. Some of these I have not converted yet, and so we're going to have some fun. I'm going to show you this one just because there are a lot of pots and ceramics out there. A lot of people are putting plants in pots. So this is a really great way to steal this and then change the shape of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to add mesh converter again, photogrammetry. We're just going to keep doing this, and you're, oh, it does not know what to do with this one. It's definitely very, very confused. So grab the top, place it on the top, grab the bottom, place it on the bottom, and you'll see it is still very, very confused. I'm going to tell you a trick for these really, really complex things. It's trying to grab a tube shape out of that, but the thing that's really, really confusing it is this fold in right here. It's going in on itself. A lot of times the mesh converter can actually grab these things, but we want to, ooh, that's scary. We want to undercomplicate what's going on there. So what you can do is grab the properties here and actually take out all of the points. And so it's going to be a straight line now. And sometimes you can actually get these into position. So right now, I tried to find the center of the edge of the lip, which is very logical. There's two sides to it, and it's trying to figure. So we're going to have to do this one manually and put this one more in the center. And it looks like it still does not. It'll work a little lower, and it won't look at the top. I did this on another shape, another bowl, and it did the top fine. So you're really going to have to like kind of pick and choose. The bottom is also not in the right spot, so we're going to move it and center it manually and get it kind of based on the bottom and get the top kind of where we can get it the best we can. And your guess is as good as mine. Is this going to work? Because I haven't tried this one yet. It looks like it's just not going to be too happy. All right, looks like the most we could get out of this is this base area, and I think that it is because it's just too overlapped on itself. Thanks for experimenting with me. This is hilarious to me. So the base, the most we could get out of it is this bottom area, and that's okay. Let me show you what that looks like just for a second. What we would do is we would change the clearance on this, and I think we're gonna add extra points just to see what it's trying to do. And it looks like it is trying to get that little divot in there. Can move it down just to get the shape. And this would make a very, very short texture. But in the end, it might be kind of fun. I don't know. Let me make that a little bigger. And you can see that there's a lot going on. It's just folding in on itself so bad. And that is because of the shape down here is inverted on the inside as well, and so the texture that it's trying to layer in there is just very confused. We can make that blend range very, very tiny. We might be able to get it, but I think this one's actually going to fail. So this would be an example of something you would not want to convert. You can always try wiggling these things around to straighten them up and see if we can get something out of it, but I don't think this one would work very well. So let's take a look at the pickle, which I added in today's stream photo, and it actually cracked me up. I couldn't resist throwing the pickle in there, and I also think that stuff like this, you could make a really cool sci-fi tree if you wanted to steal this out. But also, this would be worth stealing just because of the really cool displacement. If you didn't want to hand draw these bumps and you wanted these to be on your tree, you could send out just the material and end up stealing that height map for another material. So let's convert the pickle just for fun. I know we already did the bun and it's almost the same thing. We're gonna go ahead and grab the top and the bottom, hold down the T, place on the bottom, T top, and got it pretty much in a good spot. We're gonna center the top a little bit, and I'm gonna maybe move up the bottom of the pickle. And let's see how we did. I'm going to take out some of these points because I don't really want a huge curve going there. And then our material down here, if you take a look at it, it is kind of overlapping. Maybe we want to get rid of that. So we're going to, let me move that over so you can see. And we're going to kind of make the blend range in place. I'm going to move it up just a little bit because it seems like it's struggling to find the center there. There we go. And then switching the blend range to make it smaller, so it's just a circle around. And now we have that good straight line with no textures, so we can change the blend and shift that out just a little bit. And works for me. I'm gonna make this one a 4K pickle, and we're going to convert it and see what we get. I think that it's really funny. We've got some things in the SpeedTree library over the years that definitely are not trees in any way, shape, or form. Like V7, we had a dragon. But stuff like this, if you're working on space or aliens or conceptual, or if you wanted to just make this brown before you converted it, I think it'd be really fun. You could do something like the longest pickle. So for stuff like this, if you've converted it, you're now completely free to transform it as well. So if you needed to take the skin tab and do some editing that way, you could make this a jar or a cactus. Well, let's just show you for a second here. If I add another set of branches onto this, I am going to have, add bifurcation, so we didn't add on to the tree. We're gonna do interval. We've got some interesting things going on here with the skin tab here. So, I don't know. I mean, I feel like you could make a weird amphibian with this and you just go nuts with it. Let's go ahead and check out some of the other things we've got in here. All right, I'm going to show you this one. This is an example of things that people think they can convert, but you need to understand that you probably can't. Okay, so this is a good example of, oh, I want this awesome texture on this side, but this mesh does not have a back on it, so it's not a true tube shape. So it would be very hard to use the mesh converter on it. I'll show you, it's going to kind of go nuts. We'll just show you what a bad one is, even though we had one with the other one. If you were to add the mesh converter on this, it does not know that you want to do it sideways. It's going to try to find the bottom and the top that way. So if we say that this is the bottom over here and that this is the top, it's going to do its best, and it really just does not know what to do with the back there, and it is just casting rays out and it can't find anything to hit. So it does not know how to grab this texture. So if you see something like this and you do want to build on it in SpeedTree, you can definitely still do that, but you probably won't be converting. So what you would do for something like this is you would use a different texture, and if you want to attach branches to it, you've already got it set up in a mesh tab, so you can add stuff like leaves to it, or you can add a target with a branch connected to it, and that's how you would have a welded branch onto this mesh. We've done that, I think, way back at the beginning. We did a white aspen tree of some sort that we use that technique in, and we'll do more of that in the future. All right, let's just kind of take a look and see. I'm gonna let you guys choose what we do next. I don't know if you guys, who wants to pick out something? Hi, Maggie. That is a very weird cactus indeed. I would like to show you guys from start to scratch here that one of the really great things about the mesh converter is for cactuses. We're going to bring in our texture. I'm going to show you how to set this up. I kind of had this file already set up. I have a cactus in here as well, but cactuses in particular are very, very hard to get textures off of, but they're freestanding, they're out in the open, and they're easy to scan, to be completely honest. So we've got a cactus in here for a quick Soul Mega Scan. I'm going to bring in my maps. This is my color map. And infinite pickle. I'm laughing at the comments, guys. And these are not, whenever you bring in another asset, if they're not named correctly, they're not going to bring in all the textures for you. So we want to bring in our normal map, our gloss map. A lot of the Megascan assets are going to be by roughness. That's okay. You're going to grab the roughness map. You're going to click the invert button here on your material tab, and that's going to get us our gloss map. And we want to put the gloss at 1. Their maps tend to be right in the range for correct gloss. And so when they are like that, you don't really need to do any adjustments to gloss. You just want to have them there at 1. Sometimes they're kind of dark. So I've boosted those before. And we want our AO in there. If we have one, it looks like we don't have a true AO. This displacement, we could probably make a fake AO and contrast this if there's any material in there, but it looks like it's pretty flat toned, like we didn't get the crevices in there very well. Let's see what this gives us, and then if we need to ditch it, we can. And oh yeah, sorry I didn't cover this, but I want to make sure if you bring in a couple different things and you're gonna mix and match, you do not have to convert to a chunk right in here. You could bring these things in and let me just show you on our converter that we've got open. So if you just want the textures, you can export maps into your folder. If you click make new material, it's going to export the texture out and then load it back into your file for you. So you don't have to do the extra step of bringing it back in. And convert to branches, the exact same thing. It just adds a set of branches and it brings the texture in and it adds that already to it. So that's why those different options are down there. We can do that on another one in just a second. I'm going to hide this again. And we were bringing in the cactus and I got distracted. That happens often. Here's our cactus and we've got all our textures in. So now we need to assign a mesh to it. So we're going to go to our mesh tab and we're going to click the add button and we're going to grab that. We're going to hit the cactuses folder and then grab it. I'm using the highest poly one because I can always make it smaller. And there we go. Back on our material tab, we want to assign that. And so we're going to put that with the cactus. I would recommend renaming these guys. I honestly, UDUGDAN, that's not very helpful. So when you guys bring in your assets like this and you want to rename these guys, just double click and do it that way. For the sake of time and matching them, yeah, go nuts. So now that we've got this in here and it's ready to go, we're going to add a mesh generator. We're going to click our material tab, and we're going to select the cactus. We're going to attach it to the tree so it's actually in the scene, and it's ginormous, of course. I'm going to hide everything else for a second. And it's so pretty. Let's make it a little smaller. And then we'll see what we can get out of this. All right, this is going to be a particular tricky one. And the reason why is because it inverts in on itself. So let's see if this works. I have not tried this ahead of time, so your guess is as good as mine. It works really well on the other cactus that's in there. There's the Crixel has a couple of cactuses in there, but the round, slightly inverted one works real well. I'm going to grab that top, hold down the T, push it on the top. Same thing with the bottom. I'm going to get it out away from this guy here. And push it up just because I don't want to have to fight it with the resolution. I'm going to make sure I can get all of that in there. And fantastic. It did a great job. I really have... It did better than I thought it was going to do. Sometimes it just really shocks me how good it is at grabbing that texture out. I'm going to make that a little smaller so that we can see the top. And right up here, our blend is going to be interesting because the pieces here actually line up. And so let's go ahead and make our blend range drop just a little bit down. That blend's fine. I think we could do a little bit better. Let's see if stretching it helps us out. And I think this is going to work very easily with very little editing, and sometimes it's magic like that. The only thing I want to watch out for is, you see this little problem area in the texture? It's because I'm grabbing the top of the cactus right here. And so I'm gonna make sure that is actually up. And I go back to our texture a little bit and see if it is okay. I think it's fine. Let's go ahead and see if this actually does it. And let's go ahead and make this one a nice little cactus. If I convert this in place, I can reuse this texture anyways. And since the base is so nice and we're just gonna keep building off of it, I think it's a great place to do. So we're gonna convert it. I'm gonna call this cactus. And let's let it go. And this is really just about reusing and recycling, which is a staple for our field, I would say. This is wonderful. Let's look at see what it did for the height map here. It gave us some real nice stripes. These are something that are often I'm usually ending up hand painting things for like bamboo and for stripes, but it gave us this awesome height map. We want to hit the stitch and get rid of this extra bit of cactus here. So we're actually going to spread the clearance out there. And it did an okay job. You can see there's flaws in here. I don't know if I accidentally hit out. The texture resolution might be still there. So we got a little bit of flaws in there. The branch itself, I'm going to see if maybe bringing the displacement down a little bit helps us out. Here we go. It was folded in on itself. And it had the most trouble down here where it tried to stitch. So the stitch area on this did not do very good. Basically, let's turn the top part off. This stitch area is trying to match up a very, very hard shape. So this one might have done better if we had just stitched the bottom entirely. So if we were going to build off of this guy now, what we would do is just hide the mesh. We would add a chunk, hide this guy, and then go ahead and add our bark back onto the tree. And now we have a cactus guy on there. We want to make sure our displacement is set to material. And that's going to follow that along. And fit to geometry. And now we have that looking at the thing there. We want to make sure that our UV scale is going to be on a 1. So it matches into perfectly. On this one, I probably would add a couple more segments just because it is quite the thing there. And then let's turn our displacement down as we go higher up and just see what we can get out of it that way. I got a little bit of too much bump here. I think that what that is when I went up too high, I dipped in that one spot. That happens. So we want to make that, we can kill that by making this a little shorter. You probably see it as many times. And then we want to make it a cactus shape. So we would end up making the tip kind of rounded. And then we would grab it that way. A lot of times on the cactuses, if you don't want to bring it to a point, so you don't have texture stretching at the top, instead of closing off that area, you can leave it a little bit open and add a cap to it. I think most of ours are built that way. You would add a cap, and then you would take the height and displacement out of that cap. You would take those numbers out and the slope, and do some work up here to make it bend out, and then put a texture on there. So we would probably want to work on this. We might want to see if grabbing a different texture works. It's definitely going to be interesting whether or not the displacement works as well for the cactus. This way, I think another cactus shape that you could get out of this is by using the shape displacement. And you end up putting that on pretty high and then all the way up to the top. And then you would make sure that the scale wraps enough times to get some of the shape in there. You're going to get texture stretching in here. where it just can't be stretched quite so much. So you have to keep our cactuses sort of moderate, I guess, would be the best way to go about that. And now, because we have converted it to a SpeedTree, if you wanted to add things like spines to the outside, you could do things like that. You could add branches, tubes in here. Did not connect for some reason. There we go. You could add little teeny tiny spines in here by maxing out that. And then you do your frequency, and these need to be a lot smaller, obviously. You make them not. So I'm just editing these properties, but if you could add little white pieces in here and set these up. I have this on interval, and my computer is catching up, so let's give it just a second. I probably have way too many polys in these tubes that I just added. I wasn't thinking. And obviously, if this was a games tree, this would be way, way, way too many. But, yes, answer Token's question. All of our lives are recorded, and then we repost them. If we, like, break or lose the feed somewhere in the middle, that happens sometimes. We try to post, like, part 1, part 2. And I froze, so let's just see if we'll give it a second. I'm giving my computer just a second to heat up. I've got some lag in the video. I don't know what you guys are seeing on your end. I'm sorry about that. I might need to kill it and restart, so let's just give it a second. When I was working just now, I had the, I've got like a bajillion meshes in here. And so I've got a lot loaded. So give me a second. Sorry about that. We are back, and I'm just gonna see, kind of make this the stream size real fast. I don't know if I froze on the video in there, but are you guys still with me? Hopefully it's still on. Let me check with my home peeps and see if they can still see me working. Sorry about the crash, guys. That was totally my fault. I put too many in, wasn't thinking. I also have way too many polygons in this. So we were making a cactus, and I did not keep the save file because I just wanted to kind of move to the next thing. I wanted to show you some fun things with the stake that's in here. So one of the fun things about converting a architectural element here with these spikes, staked guys, is a lot of times you might need a little more length on it. I'm just making sure that the video is still running. I think everything's working on my end, so if I jumped around there a little bit, sorry about that. Okay. if you were to convert this, you could do something fun within SpeedTree where you actually build architecture, not a traditional way to build something, but it works. If you converted the stake, for example, I threw this in here just as a option of what you could do. I used this one a couple of weeks ago to make the grow on me vine. I made a little archway with this guy. This is a fun one to convert. I do that all the time. I don't know if you guys do that. I double clicked with my scroll wheel and ended up bringing up the alternate view. These square ones, so might not look like a traditional trunk to convert. If you add the photogrammetry mesh converter on it, it's going to be very easily grab it at the top, grab it at the bottom. By the way, if you're already on the mesh and you drag these in and go along, you can change the screen space to follow it along the mesh as well by pushing the Q. So you've got two different orientations in there. All right, so this guy grabbed it super easy. I've got clearance going in there, make my area here a little better. I'm gonna convert this one just because it's super fun. It's kind of bright right now. It looks like the settings I brought it in at. If I wanted to make this more of a bleached wood, the saturation probably wouldn't be quite so high. And then that little area there, you can see it's not reaching. We want to make the clearance a little bigger. And then we can bring down this all the way to the bottom. And add extra points in there. We don't really need them because it's perfectly straight and it might actually get better. So right now we're looking at the texture stretching at the top of this guy. I just pointed to my screen like you guys could see me with my finger pointing to my screen in person. It's pretty fun. But there at the top of the branch there's a little bit of whether you want it to pop in or pop out, which the extra point helped just a little bit, I guess. It's not gonna be perfect. And then we're gonna change our stretch. Maybe change the blend to default, and that's pretty good. The lines don't line up perfectly. We could maybe fudge that just a little bit by nudging that over and see if that helps. That one area there with the fold might be a little bit difficult. And then if we wanted to convert this, we would actually you could just convert it to a trunk, and we're just gonna do post. And here is our magic building block now. I'll give it a second. So, if we were going to use this guy, we can hide the mesh now. And if we wanted to add it back into the scene, right here, it's just a trunk. I'm going to hide these guys for a second. Now you could make a bunch of these or build with them. So right now I have it on absolute. If we set this on interval and set our first and last out there, I've got an extra texture. Decided the bun was going to be on there too. We don't need that on there. We just need the post material. You could set this on interval. You put this count on 1, and then you can do something like a group. If you set these guys to my screen area here is not that big, you can make these a little smaller and a little shorter. If you could make a fence or something out of these, if you want to bend these together towards each other, you could also do something like fun like that. Let's just, for funsies, make a thing. I don't know what we're making. If we use gravity on these guys and tilt them towards each other, I put too much on them. Then we have reversed. So if we did 2 in our count, we're going to have a matching one on the other side. And so these guys would actually lean towards each other at that point. You could do something fun. I don't know what I'm making, guys. But it's good for non-conventional things. And in a couple of weeks, we are going to, I made a greenhouse out of our parts here. I made it the whole thing in SpeedTree and just slapped some textures on it. And so we're going to fill it with tiny plants and focus more on the tiny plants building. But it's a fun method to do. I wasn't sure. I popped this guy in here. I wasn't sure if it was going to convert. I'm going to let you guys vote. Do you think it's going to convert or not? And we're going to kind of like play around with that for a second. I'm adding... I feel like I repeated myself so many times in this stream, but we're just doing basic things here. Added a mesh converter. I'll let you guys type. You should definitely tell me if you think it will work or not. And I keep going with it at the bottom. We're going to grab the top. A lot of times, so I was zoomed in right here and I'm like, where's the top button? You might have to zoom out. A lot of times the top is going to be up bigger. If you bring in this mesh and it's really, really big, it's going to put the top in perspective with that mesh. So it's going to be, it might be way up. So don't be afraid to look up right there. It grabbed everything real nice so far. There's some ins and outs on this, so let's see what we've got. We've got our area here. All right, this is looking great. We're gonna make our preview a little bigger so you can see it. Just squishes the face out. That is hilarious. We want to make our clearance a little larger. I almost made my preview window too big. There we go. You can see both. My steering is atrocious sometimes, guys. All right, we're gonna make our blend area go all the way to the bottom, if we can. It looks like it was overlapping there, and we would make the clearance cover everything. And it looks like it did a good job, except for where it's bumping in here. So we want to take this. I'm actually going to take the points out and just squish this thing entirely. That's going to give us more of a flat texture. But it looks like it's gonna work. We're gonna change the blend and see if we can stretch that up to where it's not gonna go overlapping our face a little bit. And I think this is gonna work. We're gonna go ahead and change it to higher resolution and let's just convert it. I'm gonna convert it to a chunk. We're gonna call this face man, because I don't know what to call this. And let's see if it works. You do have to kind of let it do its thing. It's processing a lot of information when it does this, so making your textures is putting them back in, so it does take a couple of seconds. And good things take time. And did it do it? Let's hide our original mesh. It made something. It's kind of funny. Let's see what this does when we make it bigger. Definitely. I think some of our displacement might have gotten... It didn't give me much displacement in the original from the height there, and our normal map actually did not come out there. So I think in the original asset, let's see what it looks like. Yeah, they did not. That was what it was. I did not bring in the normal map for this guy. And so the one we sent out definitely did not have any extra normal there. And so our height map did not have any detail from the face. So it's nice that I could, mess up while doing this live in front of you, so you can see what happens when you forget to bring in your maps. I've got this kind of smoother bark here. There's the face side, but I didn't get as much detail as I could have out of it. That's still hilarious, and I don't know what you would use that for, but maybe you could make like a totem pole or something. If you add more segments into this now, you're gonna see it's so displaced that I'm gonna get some extra jagged triangle things going on there. So what you would do is If you're gonna do a high detail one, don't be me, put your maps in, and two, add more polygons in there, and then kind of go back to displacement and adjust it. So it's pumped up pretty high here, and I've got some really bad shadowing happening. If I bump this back down, we're gonna find a little bit of balance. I got enough of the shape there to where the guy's face can kind of come out of it. And I've got no normal map, so it doesn't look as awesome as it could be. So let's try that again. I've got one last one in here if you guys want to see if we are gonna squish this face. Let's try it. Will this work on this guy? I did the Roman pillars work all really great. A lot of the architectural stuff inside there, all of those work really fun. And I'll let you guys vote again while I'm setting this up. But do you think this will convert? Here's our top. Here's our bottom. It is struggling already to figure out what is going on this thing. I don't think it's super centered. So on the top, I'm going to click it and hit the center button and see where it takes me. And it did not do a good job there. I'm going to take out some of the count here and take out the extra points so that we have a 2. But it's going to help us see what we're doing here a lot easier. Sometimes the pink thing can kind of get in the way. And with that, we actually did a better job. I think it'll grab it this way. We're going to do our clearance, and I don't want to add the extra points in. I guess I can add a few to get the curve, but the second I add too many, it's going to get a little bit lost. I'm going to move it up, and so now I've got just the edge, and let's see if we can adjust this to get the bottom blending. I might have to make this go. So when I go all the way to the bottom, it's going in on that fold. So our blend range on this one might have to be a little bit smaller. I think it'll work. Gonna make the background size a little bigger. I know you have trouble seeing there. So we still got some texture stretching in here. I think that if we were gonna move around this, you'll see where that's coming from. It's having to fit all around in there. So we can do a couple things here. We can try to straighten this manually and get it just a little bit more centered with what we think is the center. Let's see if that helps. Same thing with the top. I can kind of balance that out to get more of a straight area there. And let's see if that helped a little bit. Let's go ahead and stretch it way down so it's a very, very small line and see if one of the other blend areas help us out. I'm gonna make this real big because it's still kind of hard to see. It's a smaller area there. I think we will have some issues in this, so I'm gonna go ahead and export it and just to see what we get. Gonna do a 4K on that, and on this one I do have all the maps, but I don't have the AO map lined in. I don't think this one did have one. We'll throw it in there just for extra kicks and giggles. And let's see if it works. If we want to keep the neck in there just for fun, I can do convert in place, and this is going to be the face. And it did not stitch that one. I did not like that because of the irregularity down in the bottom. So let's go ahead and try that again. I'm going to delete it. We still have our converter in place. If you guys are working on this file, you can add as many converters as you need into the files. If you want to steal textures from like 3 places on the branch and then leave them in your file and reference them later, it's a great, it's not hurting anything to keep it in your gen bar. Let's try that again, but just convert it to a trunk instead of convert it in place. And let's see what we get. This is the stuff nightmares are made from probably, but I don't know what to think of this. Oh, it's lovely. There's our face on the side. Special looking, let me say. I don't know what you would do with this, but you could have some fun with it. What you would probably want to do on this is add just a few more segments and add a couple more radial segments. The radial segments are really helping out the detail here on the side, as you can see. This one place where it's super displaced in the map here, it's terrifying. What you could do in the segments is actually try to space these to where there's more in the middle. You could do something like this. I don't know if it's really worth it, or we can just add more in here, but that'll smooth our nose out a little bit. This is, I really don't know what you would make this with, but if you wanted, you could make a face tree. If you wrap this again, this is also going to be really funny. Now we have some sort of weird thing going there, but we can do whatever we want with this. If you added this as an extension, you can have it extend off the top. And what we did last week is if you wanted to split this, you could. Make this the most terrifying thing you've ever seen, probably, but anyways, you can do a lot of fun stuff with this. You're not limited to just barks. Sometimes, you know, maybe you want to take this one section and just blend it into a current bark and have like a willow man face in a tree. I don't know. Creativity is where you can take this and run with it from there. So that's all I've got for you for today's stream. It was kind of a weird one where we were just doing all kinds of crazy things, but I hope you enjoyed the mesh converter tool, and SpeedTree 9 is coming very soon. I'm gonna leave this open if you have any questions, or you don't. I mean, we did this like 8 times, it seems like, so you probably have a good idea of how to use the tool now. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you not next week, but the one after for our greenhouse stream. So have a good one.